The last thing I expected after 24 years serving my country was to come home and have my life's honors dumped out like garbage by my next-door neighbor, right in broad daylight, no less. I'm talking about my Purple Heart, my Bronze Star medals. I bled for medals that still mean more to me than most folks could ever imagine. And yet there I was, standing at the curb, staring at my cracked display case medals scattered through the grass, thanks to Karen from next door, who called it junk cluttering the neighborhood. That's not just a slap in the face, it's a crime, plain and simple. But as it turned out, justice has a way of working things out, even in the most ordinary of suburbs. My name's Henry. I'm a retired Army Master Sergeant, served my country for 24 years, 3 combat tours, came home to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, thinking I'd earned a little peace and quiet. My wife Margaret and I found a good spot in Oakwood Commons, one of those subdivisions built just a little over a decade ago. Nothing fancy but quiet, mostly retirees and working folks who take care of each other and keep to themselves. That's all I wanted. For 5 years, I had no issues with anybody. Folks around here knew I was a veteran. Some would wave, some would nod, but nobody ever poked their nose where it didn't belong. Not until Karen moved in 4 months back. Golden blonde hair and a look that said she meant business. She wasted no time. 6 weeks after unpacking, she joined the HOA board. 10 weeks in, she'd somehow worked her way up to president. Her mission, property appearance standards, her words, not mine. Karen had an opinion about everything. Garden gnomes, porch swings, a hose left out too long, she called it all clutter. But her favorite target day in and day out was my garage. Now I like to work on little projects. I leave my garage door cracked about 2 feet for air while I'm inside. You can see a workbench, some shelves, but the real treasure's up on the wall, a glass display case 3 feet wide, 2 feet tall, with every ribbon and medal I ever earned. My Purple Heart, Bronze Star commendations, campaign ribbons, they're all there staring back at me every time I tinker with a tool. Those medals aren't just hardware, they're blood, sweat, memories, and names I'll never forget. They're a piece of me. Karen, though, she saw clutter. Started leaving violation notices in my mailbox garage door, must be closed at all times, as if she was reading from some HOA Bible. But there's no such rule, and I need that air, so I ignored her. That only made her angrier. Soon she was snapping pictures from the sidewalk, posting them to the neighborhood Facebook page, calling me a hoarder, complaining that my junk was bringing down the whole block. Some neighbors jumped in, defended me, said my garage was cleaner than most, told her she was being ridiculous. But Karen wouldn't let it go. Last Thursday started like any other. Margaret and I left to run errands around 9, planning to be back before lunch. The garage door left cracked open just like always. When we returned a couple hours later, I knew something was off. Before I'd even shut off the engine, the garage was shut tight. I never leave it closed if I'm just popping out for a bit. I went in, and right away I knew someone had been there. The workbench was jumbled, tools were out of place, shelves looked like they'd been rifled through. My heart dropped. I turned to the wall and the display case was gone. Just empty brackets staring at me. That hit like a punch. All those years, all that sacrifice gone just like that. I felt sick. But I had security cameras and I rushed to check the footage. There it was, 9:45 a.m., Karen walking up my driveway, glancing over her shoulder, ducking under the cracked garage door. She went straight to my medals, ripped the whole case off the wall, walked it out to the curb, and dumped it next to my trash cans. Then she went back, poked around a little more, and closed the garage on her way out. 8 minutes tops. I bolted outside, heart pounding. There it was, my display case, glass cracked, some medals, and ribbons spilled into the grass. I gathered everything up, hands shaking, felt more like I'd just come in from a firefight than a morning in the suburbs. The medals were all there, but scratched and dirty, the case busted. I brought it all inside, called the police, and waited. It wasn't long before Officers Martinez and Chen showed up. I explained what happened, showed them the footage, the damaged medals. Martinez watched the video twice. "Sir, this is burglary and larceny clear as day." "And these are military medals?" I nodded. Chen looked at me real serious. "North Carolina takes crimes against veterans very seriously. We'll be making an arrest today." They took statements, photos, the security footage, promised me Karen would be in custody before the day was out, and they were right. 45 minutes later, I watched from my window as the cruisers pulled up next door. Officers knocked on Karen's door, had a heated conversation, then put her in cuffs and led her to the car. Just like that. Karen spent 3 days in jail, couldn't make bail until her family scraped it together. At her hearing, the prosecutor played the security footage for the judge, laid out every detail. Your Honor, this is not HOA enforcement. This is burglary and theft, plain and simple, motivated by personal animosity. The judge set bail at $50,000, no hesitation. Meanwhile, the HOA board called an emergency meeting. They kicked Karen out as president, unanimous vote, and sent me a formal apology. William, the new president, a retired teacher, came over himself to say how sorry he was. Master Sergeant Hayes, we support our veterans. What happened was inexcusable. I told him all I wanted was my medals back safe and sound. Karen's attorney tried every trick in the book, claimed she was just enforcing HOA rules, didn't realize the medals mattered. The DA wasn't having it. Karen ended up pleading guilty to felony breaking and entering and felony larceny. The judge handed down 16 months 12 to serve, the rest suspended. She had to pay for repairs and restoration. At sentencing, the judge didn't sugarcoat it. Miss Stevens, you violated the sanctity of a veteran's home. You treated his service as garbage. This sentence is for every veteran who's ever felt disrespected. Karen served 10 months, lost her house, had to move out of the county, can't come anywhere near me or my property. I got my medals restored, the case replaced, this one bolted to the wall with anchors you'd need a tank to pull out. Letters poured in from veterans groups. The American Legion honored me. The VFW asked me to speak about what happened. Even neighbors who barely knew me stopped by to show support. But the part I'll never forget, Frank, old Navy vet 3 doors down, shows up one evening, tears in his eyes. Henry, when I heard what she did, I wanted to cry. Those medals mean everything. Thank you for standing up and making sure there were consequences. Margaret still wells up talking about it. Those medals are our story, our history. I'm glad she went to prison. Since then, not a soul's bothered me. I still leave the garage door open for air, still keep the cameras rolling just in case. The footage is now used in police training on burglary cases. Funny thing is, this whole mess taught me something I thought I already knew. Most people get it. They understand what those medals stand for, the blood and years they represent. But some people like Karen only see the world through their own narrow lens, where other people's treasures are just clutter in the way of their perfect little vision. Here's what sticks with me sometimes. The things folks are quickest to throw away are the things that matter most. Sometimes what you call junk is someone else's life's work, their honor, their sacrifice. And when you cross that line, when you treat someone's legacy like it's disposable, you learn sooner or later that not everything can be tidied up. Not every wrong can be swept away. So where do we draw the line? When does keeping order become crossing over into someone else's rights, their dignity, their life? I'd love to know. Has anything like this happened in your community? Do you think the punishment fit the crime, or was it too harsh? Drop your thoughts, your own stories, right here in the comments. And if you know a veteran or you've ever seen something like this, share this story, because respect is earned and nobody should have to fight for it twice.